Thank y'all for having me. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for your attention. So my name is Judge Paige Whittaker. I'm a Fulton Superior Court judge. I know some of you are lawyers and some of you are not. Some of you I know and some of you I don't. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and about what our court does. I have been on the Fulton Superior Court bench for almost 10 years. I was appointed in 2017 by Governor Deal. I have been up for election twice since then, so this is my third election for my fourth term. Last time, 4 years ago in 2022, I had an opponent, and I am happy to say that Fulton County, with your support, returned me to office with 65% of the vote. But thank you. Every election stands on its own, and as Claire mentioned a little bit, there are a lot of incumbent judges on the ballot this time who have opposition, who have people challenging us, trying to unseat us and put themselves in office. And I'll let each of the other judges here talk about themselves and their campaigns. For myself, I am a 34-year resident of Fulton County. I moved here after graduating from law school at Duke University and have been basically a Buckhead resident ever since then. I'm a former prosecutor. I prosecuted statewide with the State Attorney General's office. Starting in the 90s, I handled complex litigation across the state and also in the federal court system. I took a couple of years off when my babies were little. They're now in college, so they're not so little anymore. And then I returned to practice to head the appeals division of the Fulton DA's office many years ago under a different administration than it is right now. I left there when Governor Deal appointed me to the Fulton Superior Court bench. And I am asking for your vote on May 19th. And the judicial races are nonpartisan, and that is why we're on the bottom, on the back of the ballot. You have to go ahead and put your votes in for, we're on the Republican, the Democratic, and the independent ballots, but at the end of each of those. So after you vote for everybody, after you vote for or answer the party questions, you know, the non-binding referenda questions, then you get to the judges. And it's every class of court from the Georgia Supreme Court on down. Craig and I both are on Superior Court, and we both got last names at the end of the alphabet, and it's alphabetical order. So Whittaker is the one you want. It will have an I by the name. So if you don't remember anything else, remember that. But each of you should have some cards on your table. They tell a little bit more about me and about my campaign. They also have a QR code to go onto my website. My website is judgewhitaker.com. If you go on the website, you can donate if you are so inclined. These opposed contested races cost a lot of money, so I would absolutely appreciate any kind of contributions you can make. It also will have information about early voting locations. Early voting starts a week from Tuesday on April 27th. And voting will be available early at most of the Fulton County libraries, but there'll be a link for information to where the voting locations and times and dates are as well on the website. You can also request a yard sign through the website. I've got some up here now, but hopefully there will be more demand than there is supply. However, you can go on the website and put in your address, and one will be delivered to you, planted in your yard, or if you'd like to take 10 or 20 to give out to your friends, or if you're at another organization that you believe the people are politically active, or you need to get them politically active, you know, you can say, please deliver 10 to my front porch, and our sign guy will do that. So I would appreciate that. I want y'all to know, judges can't make a whole lot of campaign promises, but one thing I promise to always do is to follow the law. It is not up to me to, thank you. Thank you. It's not up to me to decide policy. That is why we have legislators that we vote into office. they make the law, and they're supposed to be doing the will of the voter, and then we as the judges enforce that law, interpret that law if need be. But we're not deciding the law, we are following the law. And that is what I have done the whole 10 years I've been in office, and what I will continue to do. I am there to do what is right, and I am asking y'all to stand with me as you did 4 years ago. Please let your friends, your neighbors, your co-workers, your family who live in Fulton County know that the deciding election for the judges is May 19th. It's not a primary for us. We're on the primary ballot, but it is our deciding election. So we need you all to go and vote, re-elect Judge Whittaker, on or before May 19th, and I thank you for your time. And it just so happens that we have someone else, not a plant, here in the audience who said they wanted to say a few words.
Yay.
And then
I met Judge Whittaker 8 years ago. Unfortunately, it was during a custody battle for my daughter Jenny. Remember Jenny? Jenny passed 4 years ago, but it had nothing to do with Judge Whittaker, believe me. She came alongside with me during the court hearings, and she understood where I was coming from. I was going up against a multi-billion-dollar lawyer, a multi-billion-dollar ex-wife. Judge Whittaker heard my case. She sided with me, and I eventually got custody for Jenny. Since then, I've had a little bit of a crush on Judge Whittaker, but don't let her know that. And I've been dying to meet her for 8 years. After the court was settled, I kind of went up a little bit, and I thanked Judge Whittaker for her findings. And the opposing counsel, I don't remember his name, Greg, maybe you remember his name. The opposing counsel was such a jerk that he wrote a letter, a note to Judge Whittaker saying that Ron went up and said something to you, this whole thing should be thrown out. She reprimanded the crap out of him, and I was fortunate enough to get a copy of the letter, and I was so thrilled to read it. To know someone like we have Judge Whittaker in our corner is just such a wonderful, wonderful feeling. And I highly recommend Judge Whittaker, Judge Roth, Craig, who I met years and years ago. I don't know if you remember. You started me off with this whole divorce thing when I was being referred to as the plaintiff. You introduced me to my original lawyer. Judge Roth gave me a call on Saturday, responded to an email. I asked if he was a Democrat, Republican, or independent. He actually took the time to respond. He spoke for 15 minutes in front of Waffle House. Great guy. I'm so glad to know about this meeting today, and I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for the time, and thank you again for what you've done for me for 8 years ago.
thank you. I think there were a couple of questions.
I am not advocating. Make that very clear. I am not advocating. I am not anything like that, but I do think I can discuss facts. And I think that your judicial acumen was very much on display fairly recently when there was a very prolonged case that occurred in Fulton County that was across all of the news. Anyone can look around, anyone can ask about it. And when that case came before Judge Whittaker, am I correct?
That's right.
Okay. She was not the original judge, but when it came before her, suddenly that case started to move, and suddenly that case came to fruition. And so that is a very clear demonstration of a judge who rules based on the law and rules without taking too much time and spending too much of our tax dollars.
Thank you. I appreciate that comment. And was there a question in the back?
My question was on that same case, and you've done a good job. If you wanted to comment to this group, how you came in charge of that and how quickly you got that thing wrapped up. I think this group would be interested in your views on it.
So this was a complex criminal case with multiple defendants, an indictment that was over 100 pages long. And it was referred to in the media, not inaccurately, as a sprawling case. The judge who originally had it, it had been going on for over a year and a half by the time I was assigned to the case. That judge had to recuse from the case. A second judge was assigned who kept the case for one day and said, no thank you, I don't want this case, hot potato. Then it came to me. Our cases are assigned randomly. And I suspect that I could have also come up with a reason if I didn't want to handle the case. And it wasn't like I wanted to handle the case. But that's our job. You know, we are there to handle the tough cases. That is why you elected me 2 times before this. And so when I did get that case and took over presiding over it, the first thing I did was to tell...
Please tell the group the defendant's identity.
Okay. So he is an internationally famous rapper born in Atlanta whose name is Jeffrey Williams. He goes by the name of Young Thug. I did not know anything about him or his music before I took the case, but I mean, apparently he literally has got Grammys and is internationally famous. So there was a lot of media attention, and when I say a lot, I mean the prior judge had permitted 8 different television cameras in court. You can actually have them all pool for one camera and use the same footage, so I'm not quite sure why there were 8 and not 1. But anyway, an entire wing of the courtroom was taken up by cameras, and it was live streamed every time there were any court proceedings. So one of the first things I did when I took over the case was go on the bench, and there were several computers, and I slid one of the computer screens over so it basically couldn't show me at all, because I didn't want it to be about media coverage. And I said to everybody, you know, a lot of people are watching this as though it's a soap opera. These are people's lives. There are real victims in this case. The defendants are real people in this case, and we're not here to entertain people. We are here to get this case handled according to the rules of law and the rules of evidence. And y'all, frankly, I mean, there were 16 jurors, because there were some alternates, who had been basically, you know, trapped, for lack of a better word, for just months and months and months. And so one thing that is important to me always is to be efficient with court time, with court resources, and with people's lives. And so I think I got the case July 19th, I remember, and it was wrapped up entirely before the end of November, after having gone a year and a half or more before that. So that's all I have to say about it. And the jury had the ultimate decision with regard to most of the defendants. And anyway, thank you for that question.
Ma'am.
You have a question back there.
Yes, ma'am.
So what are your opponent, can you give us some information about your opponent, and if there are particular issues that are in this particular election?
I don't really know, honestly. When the post on her Facebook announcing her, and I'll tell you, she filed against me at the very last day of the qualifying in mid-March, so I've only known about this for about a month. I don't know what her platform is. She's not really running as though she's running against somebody. I don't know that she wants anybody to know that. But her Facebook post just said, "I'm not waiting for permission." I don't know what that means, but maybe it means I don't know what that means. I'm not going to speculate. But I'm just kind of out here letting people know I've been doing this job for 10 years. I have been a prosecutor and a public servant for 20-something years before that. I am endorsed by 5 former Georgia Supreme Court justices. I know that is something that my opponent cannot say. And these are nonpartisan races, and I have got bipartisan support from local, state, and even United States politicians. So hopefully, and my endorsements are on my website as well. So hopefully that'll let you know what you need to know. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all. I appreciate it.